All right. Do we have sound to the OBS? Yeah, I unmuted that. A little low, maybe. Just also talking kind of quietly. Let's see. 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. Welcome, first of all. Thank you to anyone watching. Hope you're all having a good day. I am a little bit behind schedule today, as you can tell, but we are much ready. I'm gonna shuffle around the windows as usual here. All right. Okay, that's a little bit on the wild side. Let's turn it down a bit. All right, welcome. This is the browser we want, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. All right. Yes. Welcome. Good morning. Good day. Hope you're all doing well. That is interesting. I don't know what's going on here. Weather-wise, Wi-Fi umbrella stand. Oh, that's cool. Okay, tells you the weather with the color there. That's cool. I love the way this trades out new pictures now. It's interesting to discover new projects. Might be cool if these would link. These link, maybe? It's not actually a clickable link. You gotta go search and learn. Anyway, we're getting off track already. So yes, hello and welcome. Good morning, good day, wherever you're at. My name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. I usually stream around this time, 10 a.m. Central Time. I usually start a little bit closer to 10. We're running a bit behind today, as I said, but we're ready now. 10 a.m. Central Time on Central US Time on Saturdays, and I am usually working on stuff related to CircuitPython. If you are new and you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more at the main website here, circuitpython.org. It is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Today I happen to be using the Metro, which I totally just typed a different word, Metro RP2350. And I am in fact treating it a lot like a tiny computer because I have a USB hub connected to it. I have two USB devices connected over host, and I have a DVI cable, an HDMI compatible cable plugged into the HSTX port there, and it's going to a monitor. Although I am just capturing it in OBS, which reminds me I need to get the OBS window, so I'm going to disappear for a minute, loop, and then I need to get this. Let's go with this one. We can bring this here, and we can bring me back before I forget like last time. And we can maybe make this a bit bigger, except I think I have to do this corner. It's very... There we go. So yes, I have a tiny computer. Essentially, this Metro RP2350, the HDMI is plugged in, and I am capturing it in this case with an HDMI capture card and feeding it into OBS like that so we can see it here on the screen and the stream. But not to get too far off the path of the introduction, all of these different microcontrollers, there are 602 of them on this page here. These ones all support CircuitPython. If you choose to use CircuitPython with them, the way it works is you typically, the way it works, I'll say, there are different ones which have different capabilities. But the most typical way is it plugs into the computer with a USB cable. It shows up like a thumb drive. You edit a code.py Python code file on that thumb drive. When you save it, the microcontroller actually interprets and executes that Python code for you. And then the code itself can interface with all sorts of extra peripherals that you connect to your microcontroller. In my case, like this one, we have the HDMI hooked up, and I also have mice and a keyboard hooked up to it as well. So our Python code can actually interact with all of those things running on the microcontroller itself, which is really cool. Coffee cheers if we have any coffee fans out there. If you would like to support CircuitPython and people like me who work on CircuitPython, one of the easiest ways to do it is support Adafruit, purchase hardware from them. You can do that at adafruit.com. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York. They are the ones who pay the team of folks who work on CircuitPython, including myself. They design and manufacture electronic boards, breakouts, and things typically. So CircuitPython devices like the Metro device I'm using and the DVI breakout that's connecting it to the display, and the USB hub that's allowing me to connect to things. All of those are Adafruit breakouts. They make those and many other things, including the microcontrollers themselves and all sorts of stuff that you can hook up to them. So purchase hardware from them if you can, and if you do, it helps support CircuitPython and those of us that work on CircuitPython. Okay, where I am starting today, let me show, this is not going to be in the history, so let's go here, and then, oops, what? I don't know what that was. We don't want that. I think we want, actually, Scott posted this in the chat, I think, right? Yeah. I don't know if this is added. What else? Yeah, let's copy this. So what Scott was working on last night on Deep Dive, one of the things is the launcher. The launcher uses this thing called sized group, which is a thing that I created when I made the launcher, but I haven't published it anywhere yet. I don't have the launcher on this device. Okay, let's go to the Fruit Jam backup. It's already open, I think. Or, well, this isn't Fruit Jam. Is this going to have it? No. Let's go to the Fruit Jam backup. Corrupt. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was. I think it was just being weird. There it is. Sized group. Let's copy that. The sized group, I might have even worked on this on stream a while ago. I want to say the time when I wrote this initially was for a Matrix Portal scrolling text and image thing. Like I had a logo and some text, and I wanted to be able to scroll both on the Matrix Portal. And I think I made this at that time in order to facilitate it. And it's very basic. It's basically just a group that it keeps track of its width. It's able to tell you how big it is, how wide it is mostly what I care about, but it does track the height as well, which is useful if you want to do things like place it on the right edge of the screen or the bottom edge of the screen. You can do it by just kind of hard coding numbers until it works, but if the group can tell you its width, then you can say, like, set this thing at the right edge, minus its own width or whatever. And then where I want to get to actually is change this into an anchored group where you will be able to actually just use anchor point and anchor position the same way you can with labels. And there is a library called Anchored Tile Grid, which lets you do it with tile grids. So this will be analogous to that. And knowing the size, what we have here, the sized group, this is basically the main precursor to being able to make an anchored, element group in this case, tile grid in the other case, label in the other case. They need to know their own size in order to be able to support that functionality. So I think what I am going to do is actually start by just copying this, and we're going to call it Adafruit Anchored Group. Anchored Group, A-N-C-H-E, I think that's right. I'm going to change the name of it. And I'm going to keep all the size stuff, so it is going to have size, it is going to have width and height. A bit awkward to have width and height properties that both loop over all the elements. I don't know, is what it is, I suppose. It's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. You could always just call size instead of width and height, and then it would be more efficient, but... And essentially what it does is it loops over all the elements, it keeps track of the minimum X position, the maximum X position, the minimum Y position, the maximum Y position, and then those 4 values are used to determine the width and height of the group, or, you know, if you want to think about it this way, the width and the height of all the things in the group combined, in the locations wherever they happen to be. I am gonna... Actually, one thing we should look at is this does... what? So this is looping over the elements, and it's saying if element... if the type... Okay, so this, I think, is instance is better. That's probably what this is complaining about, right? Format? No, I don't know what this is complaining about. Do not... yeah. Is instance. It's not going to do that. I don't know why it's offering... I don't know why it's offering that like it's a solution, when formatting is not going to change that. Okay, so let's do that instead. It's so if it's a tile grid, then it's easy. We just get its X. If its X is less than the current minimum X, then set the minimum X to its X. Same thing for Y, and then element max X just means the X position of the element plus the element's width. It's a tile grid, so its width in pixels. Actually, you need to get its width, which is in tiles, and you need to multiply it by the tile width. So because we want width in pixels here, that's what's happening. We take its X, we add that to its width in pixels. We take its Y, we add that to its width in pixels. That gives us the max pixel, you know, the right edge of that rectangle and the bottom edge of that rectangle that the tile grid represents. If those are greater than the max that we're tracking, we update it. Else, if it's not a tile grid, we get its X. We get its width, and we multiply it by its scale. Okay. I mean, first of all, this does not handle vector IO at all. So for one thing, this would utterly fail with vector IO, because vector IO things don't have a scale or a width and a height, except for maybe rectangle. I'm not sure. Anchoring sprites. Yes, so this will be anchored. So anchored tile grid essentially will let you anchor sprites already. This one, what it will let you do is anchor a sprite like with some text. So a checkbox, I think, is a good example of this, like a checkbox widget, because usually with a checkbox widget, you want the actual box itself, which can have the check mark in it, and you want like a label that goes next to it. And so in CircuitPython, you put both of those things in a group, and that allows you to move them around together. Anchored, well, this is the docs. Go to the GitHub. Well, this links to the GitHub somewhere, right? Yeah, there it is. So this one will let you anchor sprites to say like, you know, anchor point equals 1.0 instead of 0.0 or whatever, so that you can anchor by the right edge instead of the left edge. But then the group, what it will let me do is take two things together. So one sprite for the checkbox and one label for the text, and then anchor those like to the right edge of the screen or the bottom edge of the screen together. And not like the user code won't have to worry about what pixel they sit at and all that stuff, which is like super nice. Because obviously you can do this already if you know your screen size and you just hard code whatever numbers, right? But this is such a pain. Okay, so we have... So I guess this is going to handle groups, but it's not really going to handle it's not really going to handle groups. It's really only going to handle like sized group, or in this case, I'm changing the name to anchored group, right? The thing has to have a width and a height, which a regular group doesn't. And the only three things that can be in a group, so we're looping its elements, the only three things that could be in there are tile grids, groups, and vector IO things. And so that is not going to work with a regular group. So really what we should say is elif is instance element, yeah, anchored group is what that should say. Then we know it will have a width and a height. It will still have a scale. Yeah, scale is probably going to get all messed up. Truthfully, we'll try to make scale work after we get scale 1 working, but I suspect the tile grid section, well, I don't know. Maybe scale won't be so bad. We'll see. But I'm gonna do scale 1 to start with. And then I guess here we'll have an else, and let's say we could say elif is instance element. What if can I do, oh yeah, you can do multiple types here, right? This can just be a tuple, I think. I'm not gonna actually write the code for these ones right now, but this is better than not even having them at all. They're like not implemented. And then else, I think the only other option is a regular group. Actually, I'm going to make that a little bit more specific as well. So if that says group, then where did, actually there was a measure group function at some point. So we could make this work with regular groups as well. We just will have to do this whole logic on behalf of that child group. I'm gonna actually say this. So we could actually do that. And in fact, I guess what we could do is like def measure group, even maybe make that static, and we could pass in self. Is that weird? But this way we could also pass in not self. And this is gonna basically return the same thing. So all of this actually goes inside of here. Just gonna pass to make that not red for a minute, and then size, that's actually just gonna return self measure group and pass in self. Okay, and so then in here we can call self measure group and pass in element, which will be group. But we don't have self. Oh, can we do that? We can do this. Resolved reference to group. Okay, maybe we shouldn't make it static. It's not allowed to be recursive if it's interesting. Didn't know that. Okay, we'll just make it not static. We'll give it self. And then we can say self dot element, and then here, I mean, it's redundant, but pass in both self and self. Well, I guess we could just pass in nothing. None. I'm just gonna pass in self even though it's redundant. Honestly, it makes this code nicer to just always say group to measure. Yeah, I don't think we would want none anyway, right? Yeah, I don't think that makes sense. Okay. And then I guess because, so we should say anchored tile grid as well here. That's lowercase g. Oh, I think, right, I need to do dash dash pi for right now because of the 10.0 bundles. Although maybe we could check in, well, we could try checking in on that. I think Dan put that in yesterday and it is merged now. So maybe we got, if everything worked, I think we would have gotten a 10.0 bundle generated last night. But I don't know if there, I mean, the circuit PR would still need to be merged, and I don't know if there's anything, there might be another thing still that needs to be done before it would just work. I'm not sure. Actually, we don't need this because anchored tile grid extends tile grid. I'm being silly. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah. So then I suppose technically we don't need to do anchored group separately from group, but it is nice because you can just access its width. Although, like I was talking about before with the efficiency, I'm gonna do, whoops, element size. This way we're not looping twice. Doesn't really matter that much, but. Too many blank lines. Okay, let's see if that still works. It's in CodePy currently. Oh, the set game is in CodePy, which is not called set anymore. I need to adjust my is this different than this? Match 3, that's what I'm calling it. Match 3. Pair. Which one is... Need that part. Would like this. I'm gonna take that from CodePy over to Code Match 3 game, and then I'm gonna just let this one go away. We don't need that to print anymore. So now we can erase CodePy, and we're gonna make an anchored group test. So we can say from anchored group, port group, anchored group. Group. What we need for right now, that's not actually all we need. Well, we need, I want to label from work with, so label is a group. Supervisor. Nope. I gotta update my stubs. Main group. Regular group. Row yup. Probably don't actually need to put anything in here. Okay, I want to make a label and I want to make a icon. And I'll just use button play again as an icon for now. So icon bitmap equals on disk bitmap, which we will need to, oh, it did for me, nice. Okay, icon, that's gonna be btn icon tile grid. We'll do a regular tile grid first, and then I'll go back and make sure it works with. Why did on-disk bitmap import for me, but tile grid didn't? That's weird. Icon, the pixel shader is that one. And yeah, that's fine, I think. We'll just keep that at 0, 0. And then I'm gonna make a label. Need font IO. Or what is it? Terminal IO? Dot font. Text. Something. Label dot point. I will say 0, 0. Position, we're going to put it to the right of the icon. So icon tg.x plus icon tg.width times icon tg.tilewidth. And these are not necessary, but my brain likes them. And I actually want it to be, centered on the icon. So let's do this. Let's say midway in Y, and then what we'll do is, let's see, icon tg.y plus icon tg.height times, let's see how good it did, tile height. Yeah, but we also want to do all of that and then divide by 2 because I want it to be in the center. And that's kind of long, so let's bring it down here. And we have lost a parenthesis, so we need to put that back. Okay. Main group, that's not a thing that exists. Append the icon and the label. We already showed it here, so we should be able to see if we do that. This does stop auto reload, so it's not going to run until but I think that turn it back on afterwards. 18, that's a equal sign. Okay, we have an icon, we have a label next to it. This is completely unnecessary for what we're doing, but my brain is not going to be happy until we also do this. It's better, and truthfully, we should scoot it over just a tad. Like, again, this is not important, but like, boy, that's very close. Okay, So now, this could be like a checkbox eventually. We'll have a label next to it, and we want the ability to place it together. So I am going to make a anchored group. We're going to keep main group, but we're going to make an anchored group. We are going to append these things to the anchored group instead of the main group, and then I hit page down accidentally. We put the anchored group in the main group, and if I just don't change anything else, and if I haven't broken anything, then that will basically still work and do the exact same thing, because anchored group extends group. But once we have the rest of this working, what we'll be able to do is go and say anchored group, anchor point is 1.0, 0, for instance, and then move it to the edge there. So we can steal, I think, the code from anchored tile grid, because it should be the same, I think, now that we have width and height measured. Okay, so anchor point does these things, anchored position does those things, which moves self.x. Yeah, and then here we'll need to like measure with self.size. This is trying to take the width and height in pixels of a tile grid. These are mad because we don't have typing imports. Try, oops, typing, actually from import tuple, except, so let's say size equals self.size. And then this will be size 0. Size 1. Okay. We'll see if that actually works. I'm not sure. Say anchored group dot anchor point equals 1.0, 0. And then we could say anchored group. I don't know why we would want to append a label again, but thank you. So completion, that's a good try. Position, we're gonna say display width minus couple. So if that works, it should place our thing on the right edge now. No, anchored group has no anchored position. Oh, I think we need to... Wait, where did that come from? Line 78. Anchor point. I'm in anchored. Self-anchored position. Setter. I think we need to initialize those in init, probably. Close. Lost the label somehow. Is the label still there? Like, if I subtract a lot more, do we see it? Do. That one's not getting measured right. And we put them both in the right group? Group icon, yeah, anchored label. Hmm. Label dot, well, this is wrong. Is instance label group. Label is group. True. From, we already have this. Oh, we can't do that way, can we? Okay. Let's just say print group size. Group size. Size is 0, 0. We haven't put anything in it yet. $38.32. Sounds pretty reasonable. Big as the button by itself? Maybe that's not right. Might be the button only, actually. Yeah, that's the button only. Interesting. So we call measure group. We loop through the elements. I mean, theoretically, we should be just going into bitmap label, which is a group. Well, it extends label base, and then that extends group, I thought. Bitmap label extends label base. Label base extends group. Yeah. And then gets a in case of bitmap label, it should have a single tile grid. And we should go into tile grid and we should be able to get its width. But all right, so let's say tile grid. Actually, what we're gonna do is say after. And then max x max y. Oh, shoot. We're not doing anything with the return. Yeah. Size. So basically need all of this. So that should actually update. Let's just let that run. It actually reran. 7. Label is group true. Line 30. Group size. 7. Not iterable. Oh. Why did that fail when I printed it, but not... Okay. Sure, I understand why... Element... Pulling... Because it wasn't looping down, I guess. Yeah, okay. So the problem here is that... It says measure group, and... we gave it a group, and so it turned around and called measure group on the element, which was, in our case, the label, the bitmap label. But the bitmap label is not a group. So I think maybe this is kind of cheaty. I don't know if this is the best way to do this, but maybe we could just say if the group to measure is a tile grid, then make group to measure a list that contains itself. Is that gonna, can you do that? I don't know if you can. Let's do it on the REPL actually. So like something equals 8, and then something equals a list with something inside of it, and then it should be a list with 8. Okay. Yeah, so then it's a list and it can be iterated, but it will be a tile grid. There will only be one thing in it. It will be a tile grid. It will find that it's a tile grid. It will do that stuff, hopefully. That's the idea. Oops. Or just not iterable. What? Did this happen? Oops. Didn't happen. How do we get to 31 when group... How do we get to 31 with group to measure being a tile grid when we literally just changed it? Can you not change... Is this like not actually changing the argument because of something to do with scope and blocks or something? Maybe I shouldn't be making this Anchored group. Type is anchored group, and then it ends up inside measure group, where it's back to trying to loop a tile grid. I don't quite get that really though, because it didn't call this again. So this comes from CodePy, right here. We're trying to print the size. That's the root of the traceback, is we're trying to print the size. Inside the size property, we just call measure group on self. Where is that? Right there. Return self.measure group self. Gets us into 31 measure group. We print this once. I think I've changed the lines at this point. We print type is anchored group one time. And then we get into this loop where we know that group to measure is an anchored group, but that calls size. No, we don't. The element is not an anchored group. The element should be, we should have one tile grid and one label, which is a group. How far do we get through this for loop? What? Type is, we don't loop in the for loop at all. Okay, now something really janky is going on. What is going on here? Is this actually where this is coming from? Saving the right file? Okay. Okay, we don't even get into the loop. That makes no sense. So literally, group to measure, the type of it is anchored group, and then for I element in group to measure, tile grid is not iterable. Did I not change what we extend? No. What we extend. And if it were a tile grid, this would trip, but it's not tripping. So how do we go from it's an anchored group on line 30 to it's a tile grid on line 32? That makes sense. Boy, I don't know what to even do about that. I mean, we're definitely not printing anything in here, right? We're definitely not printing. I don't know. I gotta run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Does size? Am I not allowed to use size, maybe? Is that a built-in name? For iterable things? Doesn't have a size. But that's of a length. But you can say that. I haven't characterized it completely, but type occasionally doesn't work reliably in code. Just when in the REPL. May want to try hasadder instead. Interesting. Let's print dir of it. Print dir of it. Then we will know. Based on that. Okay, for one thing, okay, we have an infinite loop, seemingly. That's part of the problem. Because yeah, it could be something like that. It doesn't walk the inheritance tree, but it's the weird thing is like tile grid doesn't appear on the inheritance tree for anchored group. So it's odd for like, and vice versa, I guess, but somehow it's got the wires crossed, definitely, it seems. But I think the real problem is actually an infinite loop. I think we have recursive function and it's just calling itself over and over. I don't know why we didn't see more prints before. Like, honestly, this makes no sense to me that now we see this print happening over and over when, like, literally the same code without this print we didn't, right? Like, I can't control C. Oh. It's not ideal. That's actually really not ideal because as soon as I reset, it's just gonna rerun this code. Oh boy. We have to get to safe mode if we want to break out of this. Oh, well, we could edit. Yeah, I mean, like, for one thing, let's talk about that. So, just to make sure that what we just witnessed was this code crashes how it is now. And if the only thing I change is this print statement, it goes infinite. I'm really suspicious of size. Like, maybe size is built... but that, for dir, that makes no sense. So, like, this goes infinite. The only change I made is uncomment a print statement that calls dir, and it goes infinite now, and it stops Control-C. But it doesn't stop me from saving the file, but it doesn't auto-reload either. I have to reset. So that is weird. That is super weird. I'm going to pretend for the moment I didn't witness it, because I don't know what to do about that. What's up, Tithe? Nice to see you today, my friend. Okay. So is it actually infinite, or is it just doing stuff that makes no sense whatsoever? So let's imagine the scenario how this should work. So we have an anchored group. We tried to call size. Size calls measure group and passes in self, the instance of the anchored group, as group to measure. Group to measure checks if it's a tile grid. That is not the case because we're not seeing this get printed. So this is false. This prints a type that seems unreliable. My IDE just froze. That's a good sign. Okay, that was random. This prints a type. If this would be calling size right away because of the for loop, if that would be the case, then size would call size would call measure group again on the same instance. This time it would have been group to measure instead of the one that came from the self instance originally, but we're like one layer down, but it's still the same object. If size would have triggered that, then this would go infinite right here. But we don't see this get printed over and over again. When this was going infinite, were we seeing inside the loop? No. Always just dir. Does dir like call functions? Does dir call size? Anyway, we know this is a group because actually we know that it's an anchored group because it has anchor point, anchor position, and measure group and height and width and size and scale. And it does not have like tile width and tile height, for instance. I'm suspicious of size. What if this was called anything else? Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Please don't look in 1800 files or whatever. Really? Wait, where's the window that lets me set this up better? Why is it doing that? I don't want to update any of those. Okay, this is stupid. I swear there's like sometimes a pop-up that's like, where would you like to refactor this? Only in this file? Only in open files? In every file? In project files? Like, there's a window that does that. Gives you that choice, but I don't know. Apparently, I don't know how to get to it. I just know that I've seen it before. Alright, so it has no size. No, doesn't make a difference. Well, this pretty heavily derails my plans for this class, because I don't even know, like, this is so far out of what seems to be expected to me that I don't even know what to do to try to fix it. And I have no earth. Well, does this still go infinite? Maybe this doesn't go infinite anymore? Nope, still goes infinite. Yeah, that's super weird. I don't know how to handle that. Oh, I didn't save. Oh, and now I saved and I don't think it worked. This is like never gonna find the files again, probably. Can I quit? Know if that will actually help or not. Alright, this time we might actually be wrecked and have to go to safe mode. Because the problem is, while it's doing this, I don't know if it's gonna like answer the computer who's asking for the files, right? I'm gonna click that. That is so totally not what I meant to click. Neither is that, really, if we're honest. But like, I don't, this is never gonna finish, I think, because it's stuck in that loop. Starting to regret my ambition of make anchored group instead of just use sized group, kind of. Yeah, that's rough. I don't really know how we're gonna get. I don't know a super easy way to get back now because we basically need to get to safe mode. We need to stop CodePy from running, and we need to do it without the REPL and without changing files. So there's supposed to be like a double click that goes to safe mode, but if I'm honest, I have never really succeeded in using it very well. And oh, it's finished actually. So part of my problem might be that I have too much, like this is doing this SD card pass-through thing now, and I think this SD card has a lot of crap on it that doesn't need to be there. So this is usually slow, but not usually quite that slow. Oh, I'm being so dumb. Okay, I have no idea why that goes infinite. Let me save this. Can I save this? Yeah. I have no idea why that goes infinite, but this needs to be enumerate because I have added for I element. So I think we probably just got wrecked there somehow because I don't even know what that would have been trying to do, but that was trying to loop through two things at a time through group to measure or something, which is, I'm sure, not going to work right. Well, we know it's not going to work right because we just tried it. Oh, that's still going infinite. Reset? But yeah, totally that needs enumerate. Ever since I added the I, that would definitely need enumerate. Okay, yeah, now we can see actually the debugging prints. Okay, we're back to a place where the universe actually makes some amount of sense. All great debugging sessions end in the person saying, yeah, yes. Oh, man. That is such a weird behavior for it to cause, though. Like, I don't even have a guess. I don't even have the beginnings of a guess as to why this goes infinite and why. I don't even know what that syntax would have been doing. Like, I and element, I don't know what those would have been trying to set to. Would that have been looping through two things at a time? Let's test that. Is that a thing you can do? That's actually kind of convenient if you can do that. So if you have a list, whatever, right? Let's make it an even number of things. For, let's just say I, J, in L, print I, J. No, it is not iterable. So it's trying to like loop through a list of lists. It's trying to loop through a two-dimensional one. Is that? No. I assume that there is some valid syntax here that has a defined behavior. Okay. Okay. It's trying to loop over the list, assuming that every item in the list has two elements. Exactly two elements. Like, assuming everything in the list is also iterable and assuming that iterable has two elements. Then it's trying to loop over the list of lists, but really just the elements. What a weird syntax. Interesting. I never knew that was a thing. Nor do I really know what it would have been doing with a group, but that's fine. I think we can live with that for now. This is actually printing debug stuff now, so we can maybe get further along in figuring out what's actually happening. So, okay. It's still going infinite? No, it's not going infinite. Okay. So we go in there. The first time we're in anchored grid, we're in the for loop for index 0. That is a tile grid, which is our icon, which is a button, but that's fine. After I, we should make that a variable. Let's rerun that. Okay, inside for loop, we have the tile grid. After 0, so at index 0, we found a tile grid. Its x and y was this. Its max x and its max y was this. The first one in the group was the label. Class is label. Label counts as group, so we recurse, we call measure group on it, so now we're kind of inside the label. We do eventually get to a group, which is interesting. Maybe there's another group inside there, I'm not sure. There might be like label is a group and has a group also, then a tile grid, I'm not sure. In any case, we do say that we're inside this for loop. We found a tile grid. It has got those values. Yeah, there must be a second group in there, I think. I can't imagine why, really, but that's fine. In the case of bitmap label, at least. For label, for actual label, the inner... I don't know if it really does actually make sense in that case. I was going to say it makes sense, but I'm not sure it does. It's working. Okay. It was also broken from... Did we fix something? Oh, I fixed this, which is what fixed it. Yeah, okay. Is that true? I don't know if that's actually true. I think it might be. Honestly, I'm so lost now. I think this is what truly fixed it, and I think we could never tell that fixed it, because around the same time I did this, which wrecked it even further. Because right now we are doing anchored group position display width -4, and that is totally working. Our thing is 4 pixels off the edge. My screen is not exact here, so it's like letterboxed. There's black pixels that are in my little window, but not in CircuitPython, if that makes sense. But that's totally working. Okay, sweet. Note to self, use enumerate when you want to count items. Ooh, that was an adventure. All right, we also have not size now, so let's not do that. This was gonna wreck me, right? This is silly, let's do it this way. Okay, sure this doesn't make a difference. Okay, there's still a nut. I was like, it does make a difference? No, it does not make a difference. Okay, it does not make a difference. That is good to know. Size is not like a built-in thing. You're totally allowed to have a thing called size. It's not going to wreck the core. Okay. That works. We can take out all of this. Do we need this? We might actually I think maybe 2 things fixed it. Did 2 things fix it? I don't know actually. Do we need this? Let's leave this one in and run this. Let's take this one out. Let's leave this one in and run it. I don't sure that we need that. I need that. That was an attempt to fix a ghost, which might not have actually been. Yeah. We're never actually calling that and passing in a tile grid. We're always passing in a group. And then we're looping in the group doing the stuff. This was only an attempt to fix the fact that this code was saying that was a tile grid, but that was only saying that because it was missing enumerate. Doesn't that much sense to me, but now that I know that it's the case, I can move on. Okay. Can keep that. Yeah, sweet. Okay. 30 minutes. We want to do a 30 minutes. I think let's cookie cutter this. What? I must have held. There must be an. Did I hold 2 buttons down? Oh, okay. It auto formatted. Interesting. It auto formatted, and then because it was like not Python code, it doesn't know what to do, and it freaks out and just puts everything on different lines. It looks like. The width and height of the group in pixels read only. How did that get on the outside? Oh, I see. These are like that. Then that. Okay, I see. I'm gonna put those as floats just to make it clear that they can and most of the time are. Maybe not most of the time, but the anchor point. That supports having its position set by anchor point and anchored position properties. Display IO. Typo. Fine. What you're talking about. Okay. I presume that scale will not work. But honestly, I don't think I'm going to test it just yet. I would like. Okay. I don't actually remember the cookie cutter command off the top of my head. Really. Right, that's going to be Adafruit, user, author name, their email, company, library name. So that needs to be short name. Exactly the same way it will look in the repo. So we want that to be, I want to match anchored tile grid, which was anchored underscore tile grid. So we're going to do anchored underscore group. Anchored group. So then that will make it Adafruit underscore CircuitPython underscore anchored group underscore. There. Library description, a display IO group that supports placement by anchor point and anchored position properties. Keywords display IO. Oh, I should have added more. I didn't really mean enter, but prefix, default, Adafruit, product ID. No, just displays. Any display. Bus device, no. Register, no. Other requirements. I don't know. Is it anchored group? But or anchored tile grid? No. No, we have no other requirements. Okay. Oh, I should open from this one. Yeah, I don't know why I chose no on these, but it's still with them. Where? All right, BRB. That didn't work. Build not a thing. Still not gonna work. Okay, gotta run to the depot for sprinkler parts. We'll probably see the neighbors there too. Thanks for the stream. Yep, take it easy. See you, Grover. Hope you have a nice day. I think we need to add probably get ignore. So the files. The next time Git touches it? Okay, that seems weird. Why not just like either right now or never? Many branches. Yeah, I think we're just gonna do the old no QA on that one because I don't really want to refactor it further. What is it? It's like no QA. Okay. Is it rough? No QA. Or does it need to be on the same line? Rough. Was no QA, but it needs to be. It might actually need to be. I don't know where it needs to be. There we go. That works. Okay, I am gonna make it on my GitHub first. Type this for the third time. Actually copy. No feedback. So there are to-dos which will make some of the actions fail, I'm pretty sure. Also, PyCharm always starts on master, but I just pushed to main. I think what we want to do is probably fetch again, hit main, and then check out main, and delete local master. This should be here now. Okay. Cool. All right, so anchored grip is there. I will eventually change the desktop launcher to use this after this gets put in the bundle. So the things to do here still, probably the docs build is going to fail almost certainly. So fix that. Once that's fixed, actually deploy it to read the docs. Make a release, add an example, not in that order. Swap those two around. Add it to the bundle. And then once all of that has been done, make the launcher use it. And the launcher, I don't think really needs the anchor point and anchor position, although I think maybe grid layout might actually use them if they exist. So maybe it will use them. But in any case, it technically could get away without anchor point and anchor position. It could just use XY. Now that it will be able, like, sized group was giving it the ability to measure, which was allowing it to use XY. But anchor point, anchor position is a lot more convenient in the code. Yeah, I think those are the things that need to be done. I don't necessarily think I'm going to dig into them right now, though. We got about 15 minutes left, and actually I'm thinking I may end early. I know I started late as well. But I don't think I'm actually going to be able to finish all the rest of that in 15 minutes. And some of it is just easier to do off the stream, like the read the doc stuff. I got to get all logged in to the right account and everything. Do token stuff inside of here to, well, not token. Is it tokens? It's webhooks, I guess. But in any case, you got to be all up in the admin page, which I don't want to be doing on stream necessarily. Yeah. So I think that I will call it a day for there. I know it was a short one, but I appreciate you all hanging out. I should be back at the normal time next week around 10 a.m. Central Time. I will try to get my ducks in a row earlier next week so that we don't have to start late. I'm pretty sure Scott's around for deep dive still next couple of weeks, and then once he takes off for leave, I'll be back to doing deep dives, but that's still a few weeks away. So until then, it'll just be Saturdays. So I'll be back next week at the 10 a.m. Central Time, normal time, and I will see you then. Hope you have a good rest of your day and a good weekend and all of that. Take it easy.